Hello Geometry. Today you're starting off with a coordinate plane warm-up. So this is just a review of the coordinate plane. Remember, when you're graphing points such as point R, you always want to start at the origin. Then your x value, which is your first coordinate, tells you how much to go left or right. Your y value tells you how much to go up or down. So for this one I start here, my x is -10. Well, I know that here's 0. Negatives are to the left, so I'm going to go over -10. So I go over 10 times to the left. My y is 0. That means I don't go up or down. I stay right there, and I label it point R. Point S, 2, 5. I go over 2, and then I go up 5. After you complete this coordinate plane and label all those points, you have one more to do, and then you're going to solve some multi-step equations. So remember, when you're solving equations, look for the parentheses first. Look for any like terms. Move variable to one side. And then step 4, solve. So when I look at number 3, I don't have any parentheses. I do have like terms. So 4x minus 7x is -3x equals 3. My variable is already on one side, so now I just solve. I divide each side by -3. X equals -1. Now for number 5, I use the same steps. No parentheses, so I don't have to distribute anything. I have some like terms, so I'm going to just bring down the -8x minus 7 equals -7. The variable was already on the left side, so now I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I get -8x equals 0. Now I divide by -8 on both sides. X equals 0. And the rest you still do following these 4 steps. After that, guys, you have to find the measure of the angle indicated. So this is a set of parallel lines, and they're being cut by a transversal. When a transversal cuts through parallel lines, there are some interesting angle relationships formed, such as in number 13. These are a pair of alternate interior angles. They are both inside the parallel lines, but they're on opposite sides of the transversal. When that happens, they have the same value. If they have the same value, you can set them equal to each other and then solve. Number 14 also has a pair of equal angles. These are called corresponding angles. So this should be a review of the angle relationships, as well as actually how to set this up. You need to know these names, because not all angles are going to be equal. Corresponding angles are like twins. So they're same side of the transversal, and they're both on top of a parallel line. They're just on different ones. So they're like twins, same position, so they're also equal. Number 16 as well, they're both on the same side of the transversal. They're underneath their parallel line. These are also twin angles or corresponding angles. So you could also set them equal. Number 15, they're diagonal from each other. These are called vertical angles. They're also equal, so you would just set them equal and solve for the measure of the angle. So, I'm going to do this one out with you completely, just so you don't get caught in any booby traps. So I'm going to move my variable to one side. Since this is a positive 41, I'm going to subtract. I'm left with negative 3 equals negative 1x. I divide out that negative 1, and I get x equals 3. So the instructions were not to solve for x, though, or to just find x. They asked you to find the measure of the angle. So I can take either angle, like 40x, and instead of that x, I'm going to substitute in that 3, that value I just got for x. 40 times 3 is 120. So that means each of these angles, because we already know they're congruent, are 120 degrees. Fun fact, if you had been asked to find this angle, I'll call it angle Y, what you would do to find this angle, because they're next to each other on the parallel line, these two angles are called supplements. They add to 180. So to find the measure of angle Y, you would just do 180 degrees minus 120, and you would get 60 degrees. And then I could keep going forever. If this angle is 60 degrees, well, it's diagonal from this angle. If they're vertical angles, they still must equal 60 degrees. So much we can do with angles. Fun, fun, fun. Oh, and speak of the devil, when I look at number 17, look at this angle relationship. They're not corresponding. They're not alternate interior. They're not vertical. These are what we call consecutive angles. Again, they're next to each other on the same side of the parallel line. So these are supplements. So for this one, you would add both angles, and they're gonna equal 180 degrees. So I'd have to combine my like terms. I get 2x plus 192 equals 180 degrees. And then I would continue on to subtract 192 from both sides. I would get 0, I get 2x equals 180 minus 192 would be a negative 12. I divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals negative 6. So x is negative 6. So then to find the angle measure, I'm going to pick an angle, and I'm going to put in a negative 6. So negative 6 plus 66 equals 60 degrees. So the measure of this angle was 60 degrees. Now I know for this angle, I could still put in the negative 6 and get 120 degrees, or I could have just thought, okay, this is 60. I know that this plus this has to equal 180. 60 plus 120 gives you 180. Okay, so just do your best with the rest. Have your ELT teacher text me if you have any questions about the other angle types. So guys, bottom line, when you have a transversal cutting two parallel lines, the angles are either going to be equal to each other, or, like in number 18, they're going to add together to equal 180. It's up to you to know the difference. Thank you for your work today. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you all tomorrow.